welcome dear learners. Again we are going to discuss on the second part of Unit 8, that is classroom communication and its barriers. We all know a teacher always communicates in a classroom. So while communicating there is always a part of barrier. So what are the barriers? How the teachers can communicate in the classroom? How the communication process can be made effective? So all these things we are going to understand in the second part of this unit. So let's start with the classroom communication and the teacher. So a classroom situation, we all know in a classroom there are students of near about 20 to 50 or 60 students. So this is a small group communication. In a classroom there is always a scope of small group communication, and the environment is always in a communicating process where the teacher is a sender of the message and the students are the receiver of the message. That means the information which a teacher used to teach in the classroom and the students receive with their own mind. That is a communication in the classroom process. So all the process involved in the act of communication are going to operate in the classroom teaching. A good teaching is in fact a process of intercommunication. So what it means, that a teaching can be made effective only when there will be intercommunication. What is intercommunication? When a teacher teaches, the students ask or the student responds, besides being a passive listener. That means the teacher is active in the classroom, the students will also have to be active in the classroom. Then only the classroom communication will be an effective one. So this is what the classroom communication and the teacher. Now the means of communication. How the communication takes place. The communication takes place through two means. What are the two means? The verbal communication and the non-verbal communication. Now what is the verbal communication? The words, the things which we are conveying now here, which I am conveying to you, that is the verbal communication. I am saying something through a means of video, that is a verbal communication. Again, there is also a non-verbal communication. In the classroom situation, the non-verbal communication also takes place, but we never see that. When you will see it, see, you are a teacher, when you will do these things in the classroom, you will understand that yes, you are also communicating, but through non-verbal means. So what are the different types of non-verbal means of communication? One is the facial expression. Here the facial expression, you can see someone is stunned, someone is very much astonished, one is laughing, one is shy, in a shy mode. So these are all the different types of facial expression which not only teacher but also students convey as a receiver to the teacher. So this is the facial expression. Again, the language of the eye. You can see here a child is thinking, but she is not saying that she is thinking. She is just thinking with the means of her eyes. So this is what the non-verbal communication. We can read the language of the eye. The teacher also communicates to students through the means of their eyes. This is non-verbal communication. Again, the gesture language. We all know, as a part of India, gesture is always a part of Indian culture. So, when a teacher enters the classroom, what the students do? They stand up, they greet their teacher, and what the teacher did? They just shook their head and repeat with them. Suppose students are greeting the teacher, good morning. What does teacher do? They also The teachers also greet the students in the same way by nodding their head. Yes, good morning, sit down. So this is the gesture. The gestures with their hands, the gestures with their face, they give to the teachers. The smile is also a gesture. So this is also a non-verbal means of communication. Last is the body language. See, gesture and the body language is also related. Now you can see here a teacher while teaching in the online classroom, the teacher also see the faces of the students. When the teacher give hi to their students by raising her hand. So this is a body language. That means she is giving hi to their students, the online students who are there, giving hi. This is the body language. She smiles. This is also a body language. By using her hands, body postures, gestures, body, her head, everything. So this is the body language which a teacher use in the classroom. So these are the means of communication, the verbal and the non-verbal. And in the non-verbal means there are 4 types, that is facial expression, the language of the eye, the gesture language and the body language. So these are the means of communication which are used by a teacher in the classroom. Next is the barriers of classroom communication. Now, what are the problems that may be created for making an effective communication? To have an effective communication, there might be some problems. So, what are the problems? There are 2 problems. It may be external or physical barriers. It may be internal or psychological barriers. So, what are the external or physical barriers? So, you can see here the classroom conditions. Is it? So, there is no wall, there is no roof. So, poor material condition of the classroom may have hindrance in the communication process. Next is the classroom or school near the market area. Suppose our school have a classroom or your school have a classroom which is just near the market area, which is just near the highway road. So what happened? There is always creating a noise, sound, and which is a interference, which is a hindrance in the part of clear communication. So this is also a part of first type, that is the physical or the external factors which affect the communication process. Next is the classroom with improper climate. What it means improper climate? That means suppose this is a classroom. There is no ventilation. There is no scope of coming light. No air. So this is an improper climate to teach a student. So that type of classroom may also affect the communication process to have an effective communication. Next is the large classroom with large number of students. Suppose this is a big hall and I am addressing to 300 students but without any sound system. What I am saying, it will be audible to the students in the front row, but it will not be audible to the students who are sitting in the back row. So this will create a hindrance in the communication process. This is also a part of external or physical barrier. Next is the class for longer period. Now you see, if I am giving a video lecture for near about 2 hours, will it be able for you to listen for 2 hours at a stress? No. So it will bring a fatigue among the students. So this is also one kind of barrier. That means the communication process will break down. Student will not have a patience to understand. They will have fatigue. For so it is said that the longer period of classroom also result fatigue, and which also result in the breakdown of the communication process and results as a barrier of communication. Next is the second barrier, that is internal or psychological. That means our mind is also related as a barrier for proper communication. Now you see, the first is difficulty in the use of language between the teacher and the taught. Suppose I am a teacher, I am teaching you something, but I am teaching something you are not able to understand. So this is the language I am using, you are unable to understand. This is also a kind of barrier in the process of communication. So language should be very simple, very clear to make the communication process effective. And next is the failure to make effective motivation in teaching. Now you see, I'm teaching in the classroom, or you all are teacher. You all are taking this course as a teacher. Now you see, you all teach your students. You are teaching in such a way that they are not getting any motivation. Just reading a chapter, just giving questions in the classroom will not bring any motivation in the classroom communication. So to make the communication process effective, what we should do? We should use the audio-visual aids. We should take some kind of help of charts, some kind of models which may create motivation among the students to learn the things which a teacher is teaching. So failure to make effective motivation is also a kind of barrier in the process of communication. Next is the indisciplinary and unruly state of behavior among the students. You can see here, a teacher is teaching, but students are not paying attention. They are talking among themselves. They are gossiping among themselves. They are reading their own books. They are not paying attention to the students. So in such kind of situation in the classroom, the communication hampers. The communication process becomes very ineffective. In such situation, when a teacher tries to explain something, the communication will not be fruitful. So the first duty of the teacher to make the classroom a disciplined way. So this is also one kind of hindrance in the part of making effective communication. Next is the lack of proper planning of the contents by the teacher. Now you see, I came here to give a lecture for an hour. Now I don't have a content to teach. What I will teach you? I am not prepared by myself. So as a teacher, you must prepare by yourself what you will deliver to your students. It's most necessary to have proper planning of every content which you are going to deliver to your students. If there is a lack of proper planning of the contents, then the communication process will be ineffective. This is a hindrance in the part of making the communication effective. So these are some examples, and next is the poor mental health. You know, there are different students in the classroom, different category of students in the classroom. All are not in a mental state to understand each and everything in the same way. Some of them may have a problem of anxiety, some may have depression, some may have frustration. So this situation should be handled properly by the teachers to make the communication process effective. So this should be a part of the communication process. If a teacher can remove these hindrances, these problems in the communication process in the classroom situation, then what happened? The communication process in the classroom will be an effective one. It will be a fruitful one. It will be a successful one. So these are the problems which are creating hindrances. These two problems, that means the external or physical barriers and the internal or psychological barriers, which create problem in the process of effective communication. Now, it's the duty of a teacher to make the communication process effective. How? What are the steps a teacher should take to make the communication process effective? First is the two-way communication. Now, do you think the way I am teaching, I am lecturing in this video is an effective communication? No. Why no? It will be effective in future when you will see the video, you will post comment, you will post query, and I will reply to it. That is the two-way communication. Then only my communication will be successful. Then only my communication will be effective. So, it is the duty of a teacher to make the communication process effective. But how? Through two-way communication. So, I hope after seeing this video, you all will post your queries, you all will post your comments, and I will put comments in return. So then only our communication process will be a fruitful one, and then only it will be a two-way communication. Now, effective feedback in teaching. That is also important. You see, you all are learning something from this video. Suppose you all have learned very properly and you want to give me some reply. You have given it, but I have not given any response. So what happened then? It will not be an effective one. If I'll give you a response in return, that means effective feedback in teaching, both on the part of the students and both on the part of the teachers. So to make the classroom communication effective, the second part, which is most important for a teacher, is to give effective feedback in the teaching learning situation. Third is the clarity of communication. Now, what I am going to communicate at present with you, there should be a clarification. It should be clear in the mind of a teacher what a teacher will present to the students. Suppose I am going to teach you a classroom of social science, and I am talking about a scientific thing. So it will not be a clarity of communication. Every teacher must have a communication rule. They must have a clarity of their concept. They must have clarity of their words, their articulations. The words they use in the classroom, they must have clear meaning. Then only students will understand and the effective communication will take place in the classroom. The fourth and the last one is the use of motivation. It's very much important to make the classroom situation effective, because if as a teacher you and I cannot motivate our student, then the classroom situation will not be an effective one. Student will not get a fruitful result from the classroom teaching. So to create motivation, again I am telling you, to create motivation, what are the things you should use? You should use teaching aids, you should use some kind of audiovisual aids, you should use some kind of things, some videos in such a way which will help to motivate, which will help to learn the content of the things which you are giving to the students in a very creative way. And out of that, they will respond and they will also try to give their own views and comments. So this will make the classroom teaching learning process or the classroom communication a very lively, very fruitful, and lastly very successful one. So these are the 4 ways to make the effective classroom teaching, and a teacher should use these in a proper way to make the classroom teaching an effective one, or a classroom communication in an effective way. So you can see the video right now.
10 barriers to effective communication. 1. Physical barriers. These are such things as inadequate equipment, such as outdated computers, phones with poor signals, background noise, poor lighting, temperatures that are too hot or too cold, tangible items that may interfere with communication efforts. 2. Attitudes. Sometimes strong emotions like anger or sadness can taint your objectivity. Being extremely nervous, having a personal agenda, or asserting a need to win the argument can make communications less than effective. Such interfering emotions are also known as emotional noise. 3. Language. This may seem like a minor obstacle, but even people who speak the same native language can have difficulty understanding each other if they are from different generations or different regions of the same country. Slang, professional jargon, and regional colloquialisms can hurt communicators with even the best intentions. 4. Physiological barriers. Ill health, poor eyesight, hearing difficulties, and pain are all physiological obstacles to effective communication. 5. Problems with structured design. Companies or institutions can have unclear organizational structures, making communications difficult. Bad information systems, lack of supervision, and employee training are also to blame for faulty communications. 6. Cultural noise. People sometimes make assumptions about others based on their cultural background and associated stereotypes. 7. Lack of common experience. It's a great idea to use examples or stories to explain or enhance a point. However, if others cannot relate to these examples because they do not have the same knowledge or shared experiences, then this tool will be ineffective. 8. Ambiguity and overuse of abstractions. Leaving things half said or using too many generalizations, proverbs, or sayings can lead to lack of clarity, which in turn lends itself to misinterpretation. 9. Information overload. It takes time to process large quantities of information, and too many details can overwhelm and distract the audience from the important topics. 10. Jumping to conclusions. Making assumptions before listening to all the facts can be problematic in the least and catastrophic at worst.
You can also have some questions in this part of the unit, such as Thank you.